AITA for saying I knew about his affair to his wife when she already knew. Now I 25 meters have been friends with Jack 26 meters for over 5 years. This dude is like a brother to me. So at the beginning when he told me about his affair, he'd been doing it already for 4 months already. As time went on, he got more reckless and careless. When I found out he kept having the affair for just about a year. Going over to his place used to be a little weird because his wife was very kind, social and just all round a really good wife. He done countless things with the woman he was fucking. He told me he explored new fetishes. When his wife was at work he used to do shit with her in their bed. When he has an argument with his wife he'd go over to her place and have extra long sessions. Personally I found it sickening and I told him this every time. Always the same response, he laughs and just says if I don't cheat, nothing will make me love my wife more. I gave up trying to make him see that it's fucked. I told him this 4 months prior to last week. If she finds out and she asks me about it, what do I say? He said she'll never find out, so don't say shit to her. However, last week the gravy train ended for him, and she found out. He invited me over to his place, and I didn't know they had an argument like an hour before I came, so she knew. She went through his phone in the night and found everything. The name of the girl, some sexual stuff he done with her, nude pictures they sent to each other, pretty much everything, and the duration they've been talking. I told him I'll leave the crib and let them sort their shit out, but he told me to chill, and that he denied it and she still doesn't know a thing. As I was standing there, ready to leave, she came out the room with dried up tears in her eyes and asked if I knew the whole time. This is where I might be the asshole. I said I knew and I'm sorry, but Jack really does love you. I was asked to leave the house rightfully, and I understand. Worst thing about it, when she asked me if I knew, he was behind her smirking as if he knew how uncomfortable the situation was for me, but he got pleasure out of it. He called me later saying that I'm a big hole for saying I knew, and that even if she knows, I deny it till the end. But I don't know all the tactics on cheating and lying. I would never cheat on my girlfriend cause I don't roll like that. I told my girlfriend about the situation and she said I'm absolutely anti-A, but according to my friend, I ruined their marriage. To me I just think he flew way too close to the sun. I might be wrong though. AITA for saying I knew? AITA for telling someone to F off for trying to decide what toys my daughter can play with. My daughter is 3, just to be clear on that, but I noticed she enjoys superhero movies, and being a bit of a geek in that area I watch the more family-friendly ones with her. Some of her favorite superheroes are Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain Marvel. Because of this I tend to get her toys of these characters she can play with, both in figures you can find at Walmart and also some of the cheap Funko bobbleheads. That aside, my daughter also plays with typical things a girl might like: teapots and kitchen sets and Barbies and mermaids. Now that the bit of backstory is out of the way, I was doing some shopping in the store with the bright blue vests when I decided to get my daughter a new toy or two. She had been behaving exceptionally well all week and I felt like getting her a treat. Upon walking through the toy section, they had it set with a end cap filled with Black Panther, Captain America, Iron Man and Spider-Man toys. This shelf was just outside the Barbie aisle and of course my daughter was asking about Iron Man. He is one of the superheroes she actually knows and recognizes, so I saw no harm in getting it for her. This Iron Man toy is basically the size of a Barbie and designed the same way for its arms and legs, it just doesn't have clothes, the armor is permanently painted on it. I then proceeded down the Barbie aisle to let her pick one more toy. She chose a veterinarian Barbie. As I'm checking out, a woman asks if my son was with me too, and I told her I don't have a son, just my daughter. She asks who the Iron Man toy is for, and I said my daughter. She immediately starts telling me that's inappropriate for girls to play with, and I asked how. This lady said it's going to make my daughter think she's a man and confuse her sexually. I responded that 1, my daughter is only 3, if someone is viewing her sexually I have a shotgun at home. I'd like to introduce them to. 2. There is nothing wrong with a girl liking superheroes, which she does. It's something we bond over, as well as baking treats together for our family. And 3. She can F off with that crap of trying to tell me what my kid can and can't play with. So AITA, to be clear, I'd support my daughter if she wanted to do MMA for a sport when she's older. I'd give her pointers from when I did it. I'm not about to tell her anything she wants to do is for boys only. AITA, I told my daughter not to bother applying for college. This is a throwaway account. I am F35 and have a 16-year-old daughter. My daughter has a late birthday, early mid-December, so she is going into her senior year of high school. She is a very smart girl and I'm proud of what she's accomplished, but she's also young and naive in a lot of ways. She's easily manipulated. She doesn't pay much attention to her surroundings. She can't stand up for herself. She constantly still calls or texts myself and her father for help with things. More recently, I've also been concerned about her doing dangerous things or submitting to peer pressure from her friends. I've met them and they are not good kids. I've told her to stop talking to them, but she refuses and tries to go behind my back. For these reasons, among others, Her father and I have decided that we are not going to let her go off to college as long as she's a minor under our care. This means that she won't be going in fall 2024 because she doesn't turn 18 until that December. I am not trying to stifle her, but I do want her to be safe. She was recently talking about starting to fill out college applications and I told her not to bother. I explained that we weren't letting her go until she's old enough to make that decision for herself. She started crying and yelling at me, but I refused to budge. I don't think I'm being unreasonable, and honestly her reaction is more evidence of immaturity. But apparently she texted her aunt, who has been calling me an asshole. Am I the asshole? Edit fall 2024, not fall 2025. Edit 2 people seem to think that I will not allow her to go to college at all. I am absolutely willing to let her go to college once she's 18 and we will pay for it. Wherever she wants to go, we have the means. AITA for calling the police on my sister when she was just trying to help. I'm 22F. My sister is 27F. We had babies within 2 weeks of each other, and our sons are now 3 and 5 weeks old. Her son is breastfed and mine is not. I needed to get surgery recently, and because my son's father isn't around, my sister and Bill offered to babysit my son while I was in the hospital 3 days total free of charge. When I came home today, I walked into my son on my sister's breast, which I actually didn't have an issue with to begin with because it was probably easier to BF him than make bottles, but she told me after she had thrown out all of the garbage I was feeding him and she was going to donate milk to him. I was kind of in shock, so I didn't react straight away, but I went to the bathroom and called the police on her. Apparently what she did wasn't a crime, and the child is being fed, so they couldn't even do anything about it. My sister then blew up at me, saying it was completely wrong of me to call the police on her when she was just trying to help. I told her she dumped 14 cans of formula without even consulting me and currently had nothing to replace it with, just plans to. She now wants me to pay her for the babysitting she did, but I told her I can't even afford to replace the formula while I'm on maternity leave, so I won't be paying her for the babysitting. She ended up storming out and blocked me on everything. Our parents were able to replace 2 of the cans she threw out but can't do much else. They also think I was a dick for calling the police on her because getting a record could affect her government job and therefore my nephew. AITA. Edit. There's no way my sister would have replaced the formula. She is completely against it, and has been vocal about her dislike for me using it. AITA for continuing to call my niece a nickname even though my sister asked me not to. I F18 have a half-sister Emma F29. Not her real name BTW. There's a lot of conflict between our parents that involves cheating. Me and Emma have the same mom but different dads. I had more of a distant cousin relationship with Emma growing up and only saw her during special occasions, and I never really knew what she was up to. Emma and her daughter F5 moved into my mom's apartment with us a few months ago because she's having financial troubles. She's a single mom and the dad was never in the picture. Here's where we get to where I might be an asshole. My niece essentially has the same name as me, except a C is replaced with a K. So for the story's sake, let's say my name is Chloe. My niece's name is Chloe. Not our actual names, just an example. Emma didn't name her after me, and said she just liked the name. Fair enough. Now that they're living with us and I have to use her name a lot more, it has just felt weird to me to call her by the same name I go by, and it's also gotten confusing. I've started calling my niece Special K as a nickname. She loves it and thinks it's cool, and calls me Andy C. Emma brought it up to me in private and asked that I stop calling her the nickname. She said it comes off as disrespectful and that the nickname is not her name, and that she gave her real name for a reason. I was a bit floored by this and I said it's really not that serious, so long as niece likes it. What's the problem? Emma said it's not difficult to just call her by her actual name and said I won't understand because I'm not a parent. I didn't want to upset Emma over something so trivial, so I tried to call niece by her actual name again, but then niece got upset and asked why I won't call her Special K anymore when it's our thing. I felt guilty and reverted back to the nickname, but now Emma is super angry with me and won't hear me out on my side here. AITA. ETA to answer comments that I keep getting. No, I had no idea Special K was slang for a drug, and I don't think Emma knew either. We both associated it with the cereal. AITA for ending my childcare agreement with my sister because I don't want to care for her future stepkids who I never met. I 27F am a stay-at-home mom to my 2 little boys ages 5 and 1. I also take care of my sister's 2 children ages 8 and 6 after school and during summer break. She sends snacks for all the kids and pays me a small amount of money. I never asked for a lot because it was never a big deal to me and I enjoy seeing my niece and nephew. But now things have changed. My sister is engaged and her future husband lives out of state with his 2 children. My sister already told me they were hoping I would take care of them, I asked when I would be meeting the kids and she said they fly in just before the wedding and I would start right away. I told her I would like to get to know the kids first, and she said they want to start out on the right path with being a blended family, and that means treating the kids the same. She said they want them to have that after school time together. I told her I understood, but I would not be comfortable taking care of the kids for extended periods of time when I do not know them and will have met them 1 or 2 times before they would be placed in my care. And I would not be comfortable. My sister asked why I can't just embrace a big change and throw myself in. I told her if she was willing to give me some time to get to know the kids. She said no. So I told her firmly that she would need to find someone else to take care of the kids. My sister told me I was really showing that I only consider family those who are related by blood, but I would feel the same if my brother came back home after several years and asked me to watch his kids who I have never met and they're blood related. For me it's just a position that requires a close, existing relationship for me to be okay with it. AITA though? AITA for giving myself less chores than my boyfriend. My 23F boyfriend 26 meters recently moved in with me. Since then, we've had some disagreements about chores. He wants me tell him when to do what. I told him that it's unfair to expect me to carry the sole responsibility of the household and to always be aware of when something needs to be done. He said it wasn't that much work. Recently I asked him to set the table while I cooked. The table was slightly dirty with some stuff scattered around from hosting a game night the night before, and he set the table as it was. I asked him why he didn't clear off and wipe down the table. He told me because you didn't tell me to. I should have asked him to clear the table, wipe it down, and then set it. So it was my fault. So I made a list of set chores that always need to be done, like changing sheets, cooking, dishes, cleaning the bathroom, to divide them. I gave myself about 40 and him 60 of the work. He told me this was really unfair. I told him that managing everything is work too, and if he expects me to do it, it's unfair to expect me to do equal time of chores on top of it. TL Dr. Boyfriend wants me to micromanage him doing chores. I don't mind as long as I don't have to do 50 of chores on top of that. Edit. The table was sticky from spilled drinks with empty cans, papers, pens, dyes, and game boxes scattered around. There was barely any room to eat. He lived with family before this. AITA for implying my daughter's Mill is a child to her face. My husband and I are the parents of 2 beautiful children. Our daughter is 25 and our son is 21. Both of our children are adopted from foster care. Our daughter was 2 when she came into our home and our son was 11 weeks old. As parents, my husband's and my main goal was always to make sure our children grew up into good people and felt loved and supported by us through all the stages of their lives. Our daughter is now married to a wonderful man, Taylor, and they just had their first child together. I had a bit of a run-in with my daughter's Mill at the hospital when we went to visit. My daughter's Mill and Phil have always struck me as somewhat arrogant, and my husband and I have both felt like they have made jabs at the fact my husband and I were older parents. Taylor's parents had him when they were 18 and they are grandparents at 43 now. Apparently this is something that makes them superior to my husband and I as grandparents, according to Taylor's mom. This all started out when we were invited to come meet the baby and see Taylor and our daughter. My husband and I first went to check on how our daughter was doing and if she needed anything. Taylor's parents went straight for the baby. When we were leaving, my husband went to use the restroom and Taylor's mom followed me and suggested that I was some grandparent when I showed no enthusiasm to meet my grandson. I asked what she meant by that and she said I ignored him for the first 10 minutes. I corrected her and said I did not ignore my grandson. I checked on my baby first, because childbirth can be difficult. She asked how I would know that and then said it must be my age that makes me less interested in grandbabies. I was shocked as this was the most blatant insult she had directed my way. She then said that she and her husband will be the beloved grandparents because they're young enough to run around with our grandson and play with him without breaking a hip or destroying their backs. I told her she knew nothing about me to say this. She said clearly being old parents came with the disadvantage of being old grandparents and that would not be fun for a child. I told her I would rather be an older grandparent than trying to be a grandparent while still behaving like a child myself. She was furious and I felt bad immediately because I only inflated the problem. My husband and I left and he suggested we should speak to Taylor in case his mother twisted things. I didn't want to interrupt their first day as a family of 3, so I waited for a couple of days. At that point Taylor knew something was up with his mom. We talked and he told me not to worry about it. He apologized for his mom and asked if his parents had been like that with us previously. His mother, however, has said I'd declared a grandparent war and that I am clearly looking down my nose at her for being a teenage mother. AITA for leaving the table after what my Phils said. My 26F husband 29M and I were invited at my Eels for dinner yesterday. Everything was going great until my Mill brought up my husband's player phase in high school. My Mill was just jokingly being like, honestly, him in high school, I'd never thought he'd actually settle down with somebody, and my Phil was like, yeah, even less with someone like you. I asked him what he meant by that. Both my Mill and husband were then like, please, no, he's gonna fuck up way. My Phil said, well, you weren't exactly his type in high school, you know? My husband tried to make him stop after that, but my Phil added, not saying you weren't pretty enough or anything like that, you just wouldn't have caught his eyes. I got up the table and went to the bathroom. I was not even in there for 5 minutes that my husband knocked and told me we were leaving. Once we were home, my husband received a text from his mom saying that my reaction was childish and disrespectful and that we wouldn't be invited again until I apologized. My husband replied that I'd only apologize if my Phil apologized first. He didn't got an answer, but his sister texted me that I needed to apologize ASAP because I was putting my husband's relation with his parents at risk over a misunderstanding. AITA for making a white people version of food for a potluck. I'm from an ethnicity that loves hot, spicy food. My dad in particular grows his own peppers because he can't find any that are hot enough locally. I can't eat what he prepares for himself. My husband and I are attending a potluck with a group of his friends this weekend. He asked me to make our contribution to the potluck and to please make something from my country. No problem, I like cooking. And I asked my mom to help. We had fun. My sister also pitched in. I made lots so that there was food for us for tonight and food for the potluck tomorrow. We made 2 batches. One was about as spicy as buffalo wings. The other was much hotter. My husband came home and we all sat down to eat. My husband can keep up with my dad when it comes to spicy food. It's hilarious watching a Swede from Minnesota sweating in the middle of winter just from a little spice. My dad wanted seconds and he went to get some, but he served himself from the less spicy crock pot. He asked me why I made white people food for dinner. My husband understood the question and asked about it. I answered honestly that I have had bad experiences with people eating food that I took to share. So I always made 2 versions. One is fully as authentic as I can make it. The other version is white people food. It is tasty and exotic, but definitely a trade-off. For example, I will use chicken instead of goat for the protein, and I will use 1 for 1/6 the amount of spice. My sister laughed and said I was being racist by assuming they wouldn't be able to handle my cooking. I said that she had never taken ethnic food to trade in school or at work. She grew up here and has never considered herself anything but American. I think I'm being considerate and not racist making 2 versions. AITA for making my GF clean the apartment. Me 26 meters have a very beautiful but over-considerate GFF 28. We have awesome relation between us and we are living together. The one and only problem is that her sister and her BF, both of them are complete inconsiderate fools. They also have 1 kid. Whenever we used to go out for any activity, movies, lunch, etc., I was end up paying for it because I am making more money, but they never even tried to return it. So after 2-3 times I just stopped going and started making excuses. Recently me and GF went on 8 days trip, and to my misfortune her sis and BF were going to move into different place on same days as our vacation. The landlord of the new place told them that new place had some plumbing and electrical issues, so it'll take 2-3 days to fix it. So that sister asked my GF to let her stay at our place. I was not on board with this and I even warned her this is not a good idea, but it's my GF's apartment too. She assured me nothing will happen and I reluctantly agreed. So after 8 days of blissful vacation we came back to our apartment and guess what, it's totally trashed. The walls were scribbled with pen, toilet was smelly as hell, kitchen was disgusting, like all food wrappers were everywhere. They trashed the apartment in 2 days. Least to say I was beyond pissed. I left my bags into my closet and told my GF that she need to clean this shit by herself and left. After I was at the bar I got text from my GF's bestie saying that I was rude to my GF and go back and help her. I just told her mind her business. She said I am acting like jerk. So am I the jerk in this situation? AITA for not allowing my friend to move with my children. I am a 32-year-old widow to 3 young children. We live in a small but cute 3-bedroom that is too small for us, but due to cost of living and COVID we ended up renting the home longer than originally expected. The house has a renovated garage type space in the back, and about 6 months ago my friend Trish asked if she could stay because she had nowhere to go with her 2 kids. I told her that's fine, but that I would not be renewing my lease because I am purchasing a home. Trish has not saved up any money or gotten a job. I reminded her last week that I would start putting in offers on homes this week. We put in an offer this past Friday and found out today that I was accepted. I let Trish know that if things went well we would be leaving in 30-45 days. She asked me about the house and then said that the house doesn't have a space for her and her kids, but otherwise it was perfect. I thought she was joking and said that once we get settled we will figure out something for sleepovers with the kids. Trish seemed totally taken off guard. She said that she didn't think I was really going to move without her and that she had nowhere to go and she would be homeless. She called her sister and her sister said no, she can't stay because their grandmother already lives there and there is no more space. Trish is now freaking out and saying that we've all turned our back on her. Her parents don't have their own place, nor do her grandparents. I recommended income-based housing a job, but she said she doesn't want to put her kids in daycare. She says that I have more than enough money to help her and still buy a house. I work 2 jobs and have busted my butt to buy this house and have enough money for furniture and everything to be the way I want. I basically told her I can help her and the lights will be out September 15th. AITA for leaving her with nowhere to go? AITA for not allowing people to hold my baby? Went to a family meal recently. There were a lot of people there I didn't know. The people I didn't know kept pressuring me to hold my baby 4 months old. One lady in particular, relative's friend's wife. I had never met her before. She was sat opposite me whilst eating and she kept staring at me as I was getting my baby to sleep. She said, "Do you want me to hold the baby so you can eat?" I said, "No, it's fine. I'm getting her to sleep. My baby cries at people she doesn't know or see regularly." She responded with, "No, it's fine. Honestly, I'll hold her," I told her again. "No, it's fine." She got up and walked around the table to me with her arms out saying, "Just let me hold the baby." I very firmly said no. She sat back down and kept giving me really nasty looks after that. I wasn't horrible or anything when I said no, I just felt very pressured. After the meal my mom chewed me out for not letting people hold the baby. She kept telling me these people were friends and family. "Yeah, friends and family of yours. I don't know any of these people except maybe 3-4 and there were 20 people at the meal." My mom said I embarrassed her and I'm selfish. AITA for not letting people hold my baby. AITA for not helping my brother babysit his 3 kids. My 33F older brother 40M has 3 kids under 5. I myself have no children by choice. Him and we never very close, but he is always asking for help with the kids. Saturday was a beautiful day. My husband and I had plans to spend the day in our pool. At 10 a.m. he calls me and asks me to come over and help with the kids for an hour or 2 because his wife is going to get her nails done. I declined and told him what my plans were. He has a fit saying that I could come help him and then go home and still spend all day in the pool, which is true. He only lives about 15 minutes from me. But honestly I just didn't want to have to spend the morning with his kids and was really not in the mood to babysit. So I again said no, hung up and had a nice day with my husband. Later that day I got a nasty text from Sil about not helping out. She was pissed she has to cancel her nail appointment. She pretty much called me an immature boss for not helping. My mom thinks I could have just went over for an hour or 2 since it really wouldn't have messed with my plans and I had no real reason not to. Now I feel like a jerk, so I thought I would come here. AITA for not letting my niece help in my bakery anymore. Throw away from privacy. I 35F own a small bakery. I'm very happy with it and proud of my work. I have 2 employees who work part-time and for the most part it's just me. My Sil approached me at the beginning of the summer and asked if I would let my niece F11 help out in the bakery over the school break. She has been getting really into baking and loves watching content creators baking and was apparently just dying to be able to job shadow help out in a bakery. I was hesitant, but said yes, and I hated it. Every single minute that her niece spent in my bakery this summer was the only time I've ever had any regrets opening my business. Whatever the opposite of helpful was, that was what my niece was. My employees didn't enjoy her being there, and I didn't enjoy her being there at all. We were 3 very grumpy people all summer. I had hopes that she would get better, but she didn't. She started back to school this week and I have never felt so relieved. I thought many times about telling my Sil that she couldn't come back during the summer, but since I had made the promise, I kept up with it. My Sil stopped by the house yesterday to drop something off for my husband. She told me my niece had absolutely loved her experience this summer and wanted to know if she could come back a couple Saturdays a month. I told her that unfortunately that wasn't going to work and that going forward I didn't think it was a good idea for my niece to help out. I told her it just wasn't productive for us. My Sil was very unhappy. She told me that my niece had loved her summer at the bakery and was so looking forward to continuing. I told her that I was sorry, but I had a business to run and couldn't continue having her help out. This dissolved into a shouting match that my husband eventually broke up. My Sil and Mill have been sending me nasty messages about breaking a girl's heart. My husband said my niece called him and was very upset, but he stands by me and understands that I can't let this bring down my workplace. So am I being the asshole? AITA for not letting my son's boyfriend come on vacation with us unless he pays his own way even though I'm paying for everyone else. For a summer vacation this year I went all out. I rented a houseboat for 5 days. It cost about $22,000. We are celebrating my wife's 50th birthday and our 30th anniversary. It is a huge houseboat and we have been planning this for a while. All the kids are coming and bringing their SOs and family. I am flying my son and his wife over from the Philippines for this. My youngest son attends university on the East Coast and he has a new person in his life every few weeks. He is staying out there for the summer but I am also flying him in for the party. He wants me to pay for his new boyfriend to come. This is news to me because when he last spoke to me in July he had a girlfriend. He changes partners more often than he does laundry. I said his boyfriend was more than welcome to join us but that he would have to pay for his own flight. The girl he was dating wasn't going to come because she felt awkward being at a family party after only dating for a month, so I wasn't going to buy her a ticket. My son says that I'm being homophobic and an asshole for not bringing his boyfriend out. I pointed out that his sister and her wife of 2 years would be there. He hung up and called his mom. She thinks I should just pay. I probably will to keep the peace, but I think it is stupid to pay for a vacation for a kid I will never see again, and he is going to be in family pictures forever. AITA for not stepping in when a man yelled at my girlfriend for blocking a door. I am a 26-year-old man and I live with my 24-year-old girlfriend, Sam. We've been cohabitating for 8 months now and generally have a happy relationship. I suppose if I had to say I disliked one thing about Sam, it's that the ways she expresses her anger are incredibly juvenile. For example, if we're outside together and something ticks her off, sometimes she'll start rushing around nearly crashing into other people. Sometimes she'll do the opposite where she'll walk incredibly slowly, think Tom Tucker from that Family Guy scene. Or sometimes she'll just stop dead in her tracks and refuse to move like a 3-year-old. Last Thursday, we went to the grocery store together to get something for dinner. As we were walking around, Sam a pair of microwave dinners that she thought looked nice. I knew going into the conversation that she was likely to get upset. But every time I eat microwave dinners, I get an upset stomach. Since I had an in-person job interview the next day, I really didn't want to deal with abdominal cramps during the process. I explained this to her and gave her some other options. For example, I suggested I could make the Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes and do a bang-up job at it, seeing as I'm a pretty decent cook. She said no. She wanted those microwave dinners. So I tried another way she could get the microwave dinner. I'd get something else. Again, no. She wanted to eat the same thing as me. Finally I just walked away because I couldn't reason with her. She followed me with the 2 dinners in hand. Instead of going to the checkout with her, I waited by the door. I had decided at this point that I just wasn't going to have dinner. Sam walked up to the door, pulled out her phone, and froze. People could not enter or leave the grocery store. As she went full press conference Mitch McConnell staring at her phone in the doorway, I just kind of watched as a short line queued behind her. Finally a rather large fellow lost his patience and squeezed past her, followed by yelling expletives at her about not blocking doors. During his 10 seconds tirade, Sam looked at me multiple times. I just shrugged in response. Finally Sam walked out and loudly asked why I didn't stand up for her. I responded that she brought it upon herself. As she argued at me, a few people gave us curious glances and I believe a middle-aged woman shook her head at me. What she meant by that, I do not know. Sam has barely said 2 words to me since. I've tried talking to her, but she demands an apology. Is she really deserving of one here? AITA for not wanting to pay the extra money my mill put for a gift I didn't ask for. My mill bought me a new coffee machine. I don't why as the one I have is still working fine, but whatever, I accepted. Before leaving, she told me I needed to pay her $30. I asked why, and she said that she planned on putting only $50 in the gift, but the cheapest coffee machine she could find was around $80, so I needed to put the $30 she added for the machine. That confused me because, if she planned on only putting a certain amount in the gift that I, once again, didn't ask for, then why not give up the coffee machine idea and buy something that actually was $50? She said she didn't care about paying more if it made me happy. I said, well, clearly you do care, otherwise you wouldn't ask me to pay the extra $30. She said it was just a matter of principle and that if I had manner I'd pay her. She then left. She later texted my husband that she was waiting on the $30 and would take back the coffee machine if I didn't. I told my husband to respond that she could come take it back cause I was not gonna give her the $30. My husband is not okay with that because he got attached to the machine, whatever that means, and to just give her the $30. I told my husband if he wanted to keep the machine then he should give his mom the money she wants. He said I needed to do it because the gift is originally mine, even though I never asked for it. He said I was making this harder than it need to be and was selfish to not pay the extra $30 for the coffee machine his mom got me, especially knowing that he likes it. I have a hard time seeing how I'm wrong, so I'm coming here because there might be a chance that I am in the wrong. Should I just give his mom the $30 like she asks and be done with it? AITA for only paying for my wife and I at a restaurant. At 24 meters and my wife 24F are newlywed couples. My wife has 4 friends who she has been really close with since high school. For a celebration my wife decided to go to an expensive steakhouse. The day comes and we go in separate cars there. We all eat and my wife slides the bill $700 and proceeds to say, the man should always pay for the wife and her friends. I laugh awkwardly saying why. She says because I'm the man. I tell her that the only other person I would pay for would be you and me. Her friends proceeded to laugh at me, calling me a broke husband. I stand up and put 2 $100 bills for me and my wife's food and leave. My wife gets home and starts screaming at me, saying I made her feel embarrassed, how she promised her friends I'd pay, and that her friends made fun for her on the ride home for marrying a man who can't pay the bill. I decided to pack a bag and head to my friend's house. I told my parents' friends and they say I should have just paid it. Now I'm having second thoughts if I overreacted. AITA added 1. Hi guys, I've read someone comments if my wife has ever acted like this. And she never has. That why I just laughed awkwardly. The only other time she did this was when I didn't buy her mom food, which happened when we first started dating, and it was the first time she ever screamed at me like that. Instead of escalating it, I just left. And when we do argue, it's not a screaming match. For how long we have dated? I've known her since freshman year of high school and got together junior year. Dated for 8 years. I read some comments and decided to go talk to her tomorrow about what happened, why she did that, etc. I do recognize that I didn't pay the full amount of me and my wife's dinner. I do take fault in that. I should have added another $50-$75 to make it the price of 2 people. For the people who say I forgot to tip, I go there regularly with my coworkers, each pay for their own plate and always leave a good tip. AITA for pulling out of mine and my dad's tradition because my stepbrother was going, so my dad cancelled it then. My dad and I have always done this overnight trip once a year where we go to my grandparents' cabin and hang out. This started before I can even remember. There are photos of us there, just the 2 of us. Mom didn't come when she was alive and we kept it up after she died. Last year Dad married Sarah. Sarah has a son Jake 8. I'm 15. So Dad and I had planned our trip for this year, and then Jake asked if he could come. Dad told Jake this was just for me and him, and that we could do something else another time. Sarah said it wouldn't kill us to let Jake join, and since it was father-son time, he should be there since Dad is the other father figure Jake has. So Dad said he could come and asked me to be okay with it. I told him I wasn't and that there are other things he could join in for, but this was always our thing. Sarah said I could let my little brother join. I waited a few days and the plans were still Jake comes. So I told my dad I wasn't going anymore and that I didn't want Jake to intrude on that, but since I had no say, I was taking myself out of the equation. Sarah heard me say this and said I couldn't pull out because Jake wanted time with me as badly as he wanted time with Dad. I told her I didn't want the cabin trip to include Jake and it was never meant to include anyone else. She asked Dad if he was seriously going to let me just decide to pull out almost last minute. He said it wasn't going to be any good if he had to force me to go. The very next day Dad decided to drop the cabin trip. Jake was upset and Sarah was furious at me and she said this was all my fault and I was such a spoiled little brat. She said Jake wanted to join us and be included and seen as a part of the family, one of the boys, and I shit all over him. I told her Jake goes bowling with my dad once a month, that Dad helps him document bugs. He has his own things with Dad and he joins us for other stuff, that I should be allowed one tradition that has been there for years and has always just been for me and Dad. Sarah said I was still spiteful and hurt an 8-year-old. I should also add that Dad has told me we'll do the trip just us around Halloween because he knows I was right and it should be kept for just us. AITA for quitting my second job after my mom keeps saying you're tired? You work only for yourself. What is it to me? Ever since I turned 18, my parents gave me 2 options: university or get a job and pay them 60 of my salary. I got a minimum wage job, 15.50, and after working full-time for a month, I'd only ever see $650 out of my $2,480 gross earnings. So I went and got myself a second job during the weekends as a cleaner. So I worked 7 days a week and averaged 60-80 hours a week. I come home and try to relax a bit on the couch. My mom always finds ways to criticize me. If I watch TV, she tells me to shut it off. She tells me to get off the couch because I stink. Tells me to stop playing video games in the morning. I only have my 2-3 hours of free time in the morning, and says I'm a bad son for not helping around the house. When I said I work 7 days a fucking week, give me a break for just one goddamn day, she responded with you're tired? I cook and clean all day, and you do nothing. You only work for yourself, to buy your stupid crap and junk food. So I decided to quit my second job, and stop taking overtime for my main job. My 60 income contribution dropped from $3,500 back to $1,400. Now my mom is saying that the family has a very tight budget because of my laziness. AITA for refusing to not smoke while in the smoking area of a pub because a family was choosing to sit there. Here we go. I was doing some work outside, in the designated smoking area of a pub garden the other day. After a few hours, the pub started to fill up, people eating, heading out for drinks after work, etc. At around 8:30, a couple and their parents sat down in the smoking area. After about 10 minutes, I could feel some eyes on me, and it turned out that the couple had asked everyone if they'd mind not smoking near them as their partner was pregnant. Of course, they sat right next to me, who, at this point, was merrily working away on a project with their headphones in, smoking a cigarette, and couldn't hear the initial request. Soon after, They tapped me on the shoulder and asked me not to smoke due to the pregnancy. I apologized and pointed out that it was the smoking area and that they could sit literally anywhere else. The not smoking area, inside, not a pub. They then got really pissy with me and said that I was being rude as they have just as much right as everyone else to sit there, which I completely agree with, but why, for the love of Benedict Cumberbatch, would you insist people not smoke in a smoking area because you don't want them to? Once it was clear that I'd not move or stop smoking, they called a shift manager over who politely told them that it was the smoking area and that they were welcome to sit anywhere else, which they didn't like one bit. I started laughing and, at that point, they called over the pub's manager who gave them complimentary drinks. AITA for screwing over my sister by immediately quitting babysitting for her. Basically I-39F was helping my sister Claire 38 with her kids 9M and 5F cause she's going through a nasty split with their dad. They go to the same school as my kid, 6F, and I work flexibly and from home, so it was easy to pick the kids up and watch them for a few hours. I was always paid for my time, as was my husband who helped, but I quit after Claire accused my kid of stealing. She said with no evidence or anything that since her daughter's favorite doll was missing, it was obvious my daughter had stolen it since it was last at my house. I asked my daughter. She said no, and I believed her. She said she saw my niece leave with it and I believed her. I even searched my whole damn house and couldn't find it. I told my sister all this and she said that my daughter is a liar and a thief and that I'm enabling her. And she expects me to pay for a new doll. I was so angry and incensed that she was being so nasty and horrible that I just said to her, my daughter is no liar and thief, and you know what? I'm done. Find someone else to babysit cause it certainly won't be me, and hung up. I got 5 missed calls from Claire before I blocked her. She sent panicked messages and tried calling my husband and he blocked her too. We have learned from my parents that Claire is panicking because she really needs help with the kids and I'm the only one with a sort of flexible routine to do so. She also said that she had found her daughter's doll, and said that thighs are okay now, but not once has she offered any sort of apology for what she said about my kid. My parents think I am screwing her over by not helping and that she made an honest mistake and is just stressed and everything due to her marriage split. They have said that perhaps I should take the higher ground and move on from this, and don't seem to understand that my kid was accused of something she didn't do. I see it as I don't care if she's shitty to me, but definitely if it's about my kid. And she hasn't once said sorry for accusing my 6-year-old daughter of being a thief. She disrespected my kid and no amount of bad situation or stress is preventing her from saying sorry and smoothing things over. ETA, I should have added, my niece never said my daughter stole her doll. She just said something along the lines of, "Mommy, I can't find my doll," and never said any other context to that. So my sister just assumed it meant my daughter stole it rather than believing it could have just been somewhere in her house. I quit babysitting because she was rude, nasty and bitter and is expecting things to go back to normal just cause she found the doll. She isn't admitting she messed up and I would be happy to babysit again, but only if she sincerely apologized. But she isn't, so here we are. AITA for telling a friend their service dog can't stay at my house. A few weeks ago a friend 27F from high school reached out to me. She wanted to stay at my house while in town for a concert. I honestly hadn't thought about this person in a while. We used to be friends, but went to different colleges and just didn't really keep in touch. I was surprised, but said okay. She said they were in town for a concert. In the lead up she never mentioned a dog. When she showed up, she had a dog. Now I'm not a dog person at all and don't own any pets. They aren't my jam. I told her she couldn't stay with me as I don't allow animals in my house. Well, she dropped the service dog info on me and told me she didn't have anywhere else to go. I don't care what it is for. It's not staying in my house. I was just kind of stunned at everything going on. I told her I don't want dog hair in my house and generally don't want it around. I told her I was doing you a favor, but now you're pushing it. She starts arguing with me that the dog isn't a pet. I told her I don't care. I don't want it in my house. I close the door. She bangs on my door and calls me an asshole. After a few minutes she left. She put me on blast on social media, and now I'm getting some feedback on how I'm an asshole from people online. I thought it was rude as fuck to show up with a dog, even a service dog. AITA for telling a girl it's absolutely her fault she got pregnant for the 3rd time. Before I start, I honestly don't care if people enjoy sex. There's nothing wrong with it as long as they're using condoms, etc. I 24F know a girl 19? From class. We definitely are not friends, but she started dumping all of her private info on me the first day. Some of the examples include sleeping around with random guys every weekend, not on any form of birth control, not using condoms due to latex allergies, getting pregnant and miscarrying twice, and not getting medical help afterwards. Her family is well off, so it's not like she can't afford to not go to an OB/GYN or get a hormonal birth control. That's not even the worst of the stories she told me, but they're not relevant to the post. She came into class one day and was upset about something. I didn't even ask what's wrong because I'm done with her oversharing, but of course she started spilling the beans anyways. Turns out, She's pregnant and miscarried for the third time. I looked at her dead in the eye and said, "Huh, it's like you could have prevented it. We're not friends. Stop telling me these things." She made a shocked face and stopped talking to me. My friends think I'm an asshole for lacking empathy. Honestly, I'm just done with her oversharing things. AITA for telling my daughter to either learn to share, pay up, or move out. My F47 daughter 22 is still living at home since she graduated this spring. We are fine with it because she can save money up from her first real job. It is tough out there, so we are trying to help her out as much as we can. The conflict that has arisen is that she is very possessive of food and drinks that she buys for herself. Not like restaurant leftovers or anything. That's obviously hers, but she will buy soda or cheese or sandwich meat. And she will get mad if anyone else eats or drinks it. If she was buying all her own food I would understand, but she isn't. She still eats the food that my husband and I buy for the house. So she has no problem eating out food, but God forbid we touch hers. The last straw was last night. Her dad made himself a drink and used one of her tonic waters. She got upset that he drank her stuff. He apologized, but I had enough. I gave her 3 options. Either she start buying all her own food, which she can label and keep in the fridge, freezer, and pantry. I will make sure neither her father and I or her brothers touch it. She can learn to share and appreciate the fact we are still feeding and housing her for free. Or she can move out. She started crying that I was throwing her out for being upset that someone stole her food. I just told her that she had a week to decide. Her dad says I'm being rough on her and that she buys herself treats that are not stuff I buy all the time. And that may be so, but I still see her eating the groceries I buy for the house and not contributing. AITA for telling my daughter's teacher that she is being fucking stupid. Hi Reddit. I really lost my cool yesterday and I'm feeling really shitty about it. So I thought I'd ask some internet strangers for clarity. My 11-year-old daughter is in 6th grade this year, and she's been working really hard in math. She has gotten over 80 in every class test so far, by sheer blood, sweat and tears. She never used to be particularly good at school and exams. She's of course an amazing kid in a million ways, but really struggled with math, and other subjects as well. Her math teacher has a pinboard where she posts the names of 2 kids that have worked the hardest that week. She gives those kids a small reward, like a chocolate bar. I thought this was a good idea, because it motivates the kids who struggle with math. My daughter was crying a few weeks ago about how she's never been picked as the week's hard worker. I asked her how the teacher picks, and she said she doesn't really know, but it's usually kids who don't do so great in tests. If they show a little improvement, they go on the board. This seemed really unfair to the kids who work hard and score well, like my daughter. Yesterday we had the first parent-teacher meeting of the year, and I brought this up to the math teacher. She basically said my daughter does well only because she is naturally talented, so she only wants to give the hard work a reward to kids who are actually working for every mark. I just blew up on her. I yelled at her and called her a fucking idiot, and that she has no idea how much my daughter studies even though she is only in 6th grade, for fuck's sake. I said it's really unfair to so obviously favor kids who don't get good grades. I feel guilty for making a scene. And also, as the teacher right here, I might be biased because I'm not a teacher, and my daughter is involved. AITA, edit. Okay, I was out of line. I'll apologize to the teacher straight away. Thanks y'all. Edit. The school year is almost over where I live. Almost all the kids have gotten recognized multiple times except for a few who consistently score well. And my daughter failed her standardized math test in 5th grade and went for a full summer of math classes to pass and enter 6th grade. So yes, she struggled. AITA for telling my family if they really want an honor they should do something life-saving for my wife, kids and I. My wife Mia and I have 3 children and we're expecting our 4th. 2 of our 3 kids are not named after others, we just really love their names. Our oldest, however, she's named Taylor, after the nurse who delivered her and saved her and my wife's lives. Nurse Taylor did something I can never repay him for, and without him they wouldn't be here today. It seemed fitting to honor him. My family assumed that naming Taylor after someone would mean we would do the same with our other kids, but we had never planned on using honor names. Special circumstances and a very special man are why we did with our oldest. My parents and siblings, since learning of this pregnancy, and knowing it's our last, have dropped comments about honor names and how special and beautiful it would be for the youngest to hold a name that honors someone in their family. We always told them we would not be giving our youngest an honor name, and I told them to let the topic go. Mia got a lot of comments behind my back because they were willing to press harder on her than me. They used a few guilt cards which I do not appreciate. After my wife was left a lengthy voicemail about the importance of honoring those closest to us and making Taylor feel less alone in being the only one named after someone, I had grown sick and tired of my family, so I stopped by my parents' house and asked my siblings to come and told them they want the youngest to be given an honor name. Fine. Then they better get ready to go above and beyond and save one of our lives, because that is the level they need to meet. I said if they did not, or could not do that, to shut up about it and accept the fact our child will get a name we love. My family called me a rude ass and said I was behaving like a petty child, throwing that in their faces. AITA for telling my friend that her boyfriend hates her kid. My 30F friend Vicky 30F and I both have daughters. Mine is 3, hers is 5. Vicky is no longer with her daughter's father, and now has a new boyfriend, Cody 28. For as long as they've been together, Vicky has brushed off Cody's issues with dating a single mother as him not liking kids. He can never babysit because he doesn't like kids, he's never able to help her out with errands because he doesn't like kids. He chose to sit far away from her on the plane because her daughter hates planes and kid noises bug him. She seems happy with him, so whatever, I just went with it. When I saw them, I noticed how he wouldn't engage with her daughter. Her daughter is not the best behaved, I'll admit, loud, not great manners, restless, but not so far off the scale that it would send someone running. But Cody won't hold her, play with her, and the second she even moves in his direction he's calling for Vicky to do something. I get not wanting to be daddy right away, and I get not liking kids. I'm not such a fan of other people's kids myself, but I always felt like he was taking it to the extreme for someone who was willingly dating someone with a kid. Anyway, Vicky, her daughter, and Cody came to visit me at home for the first time for 2 weeks. I was expecting Cody to ignore my daughter as he does Vicky's, but after a couple of days, he took a liking to her. He would draw with her. If she brought him a toy, he'd do a little impression with a funny voice for her. He even joined my husband in teaching her how to swim. He hasn't been over the top, just way more accommodating of her than I expected, and it's really put in perspective his attitude to Vicky's daughter. Vicky has chosen to ignore this, like won't even look in his direction if he's near my daughter. Yesterday Cody and I were sitting out by the pool and Cody was reading a book, and Vicky's daughter came over and asked him if he'd come and play with her. He said he was busy. She got a bit upset by this and started tugging his arm and whining. Eventually he just snapped "Get off me" and went inside. Vicky came out straight after and soothed the whole thing with an ice cream. I told Vicky that Cody was a bit rude and she said, well, he tries, but you know how he is, he hates kids. I just said I don't think he hates kids, Vicky, I think he just hates yours. He's better with my daughter than I was with kids before I had her. This isn't a dig, but I really don't think this problem is what you think it is. Vicky took offense, called me an offer insulting her parenting and her boyfriend, and went back to the guest house where they are staying. She's been off with me today. I know maybe I was a bit harsh and it wasn't my place, but was it really so bad of me to bring up a problem she is clearly not acknowledging? AITA for telling my husband and his family not to call me a nickname. So my name is Lucy 28F. My husband 31 meters has always been super fond of nicknames and has given me plenty of them. They constantly change and I have never minded any of the ones he's given me before. They're all quite harmless, usually food or animal related, but they tend to stick for a while. His family also uses nicknames. They occasionally give me one, too. It's often the same one my husband uses if it isn't too sappy. Again, I don't mind them. In fact, I usually find it quite cute and endearing. Until recently, my husband started calling me Lulu. Let me give you the context. I was called Lulu growing up exclusively by my mother, and she's passed away not long before I met my husband. I took her loss pretty hard. I told him that it has a lot of emotional significance for me, and that it doesn't feel right to hear anyone else say it. He respected that for years, and so did his family, but recently his sister has been referring to me as Lulu whenever I wasn't there, according to what I've been told, and I guess he naturally picked up on it. It's irritating because it's not like he forgot about my reasons behind it. He'll hesitate before saying it, like he's trying to see how I'll react. I've reminded him calmly a couple times that I would appreciate he not call me that. There's plenty of other things I didn't mind him calling me. Nothing that had emotional weight. The other day he said that he didn't see the big deal anymore. It had been some years and I should be over it by now. That it's just a nickname. He said it lightly, like he was trying to let me down easy, but it stung. Maybe I overreacted, but I was hurt by it. I packed a bag and I'm currently staying with my sister. He and his family texted saying I'm doing a lot over a little nickname, and I'm thinking maybe they're right. I want to get past this because it feels petty at this point. AITA for telling my husband if he wants someone to stay home with our baby, he can do it. For context, I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant. My husband 29M and I 30F met in college, and have been together for 8 years, married for 2. Our relationship has always been solid and progressive. My husband has never been much of a traditionalist despite growing up in a very stereotypical family. Had 2 siblings and a stay-at-home mom. His dad worked. Up until recently, we've agreed on nearly everything save for small things in our marriage and how to raise kids. However, 2 days ago, we were talking about baby stuff, and my husband started mentioning that he thought maybe one of us should stay home with the baby for a while, and not go back to work after our maternity-paternity leave is over. We both work in tech, and make good money and have great benefits. I get 20 weeks of leave after the baby is born, He gets 12. We were trying to decide if we should stagger our leave so someone could be home with the baby until 6 months, the age where most places near us will start daycare. My husband said that he read that it's better for the baby to have a parent home for the first year. So I asked him, thinking nothing of it, if that's really something he'd consider, since he might have to quit his job. He asked why he would have to quit, since I should obviously be the one to stay home with the baby. I asked him if he was serious and he said yes, the mom should be the one to stay home. I said, how are we going to make that work on just his income? For context, I make about 3 times what my husband does. It's never been an issue and never mattered to me. I just finished my master's earlier than he did. We both have them and went into a more specialized field. We both make good money, but it's my job primarily that pays for the lifestyle we have. So I asked him what we were going to do for a year on one for the income with a new baby. He got a little upset and said I shouldn't even bring that up and that he makes good enough money to provide for us and I shouldn't question him. I got mad, and said it wasn't realistic and it was silly for the person who made more money to quit their job, especially since he's the one who thinks someone should be with the baby extra time. I was fine with sending baby to daycare starting at 6 months. The fight blew up from there. Me saying he's being sexist and not considering my feelings at all. I refused to back down and he ended up taking off after I said he should be the stay-at-home parent if he wants one so bad, and him saying he didn't deserve to be emasculated just for suggesting I should stay home like a good mom. I talked to some of my family and his family about it and the answers are kind of split. So AITA for bringing up the pay disparity and telling him that unless he's the one to stay home, baby is going to daycare? AITA for telling my son that my relationship with his mom is not his business. Me and my ex divorced when our sons were 4 and 7. We had our moments but actually became really good friends after we divorced. We'd even spend time together without our kids. We've both remarried and our spouses get along. In fact, my ex and her husband asked me to assist with their having a kid because he could. They have a son who is 4. He's biologically mine but being happily raised by my ex and her husband. My wife is pregnant and my ex is going to be in the delivery room with us when she gives birth next month. My 10-yo is happy we all get along but my 13-yo is starting to have issues with it. He is always complaining about us hanging out and being over each other's homes. I asked him what was wrong with it and he said it's just weird and to stop. I told him my relationship with his mom is none of his business. We'd be friends even if he didn't exist, so deal with it. My ex thinks I should apologize but I'm not apologizing to a brat who is dictating who I can or can't be friends with. Added, I haven't been with my ex since we were married and my donation was done in a clinic and no one but me, my wife, my ex and her husband know about it. I have zero physical attraction to my ex. Edit, we all are comfortable with each other because we've been friends since high school and have an unbreakable bond. AITA for telling my son's pregnant girlfriend that if she keeps disrespecting me she can get the F out of my house. I 43F have a son 18M who got his high school girlfriend 18F pregnant. It was obviously an unplanned pregnancy and it resulted in my son's girlfriend getting kicked out of her house by her mom. I never liked this girl, but I obviously couldn't let her on the streets now that she's carrying my grandchild, so I let her live in our house. Now both she and my son gave up on college for the near future and my son is now working a full-time job so he can provide for them in the future. The problem is that his girlfriend refuses to do anything, but absolutely anything all day. She just locks herself up in my son's room eating snacks and watching videos on my son's computer. I need to drag her out to just help me with cooking and to clean up at least the room she's staying, but she's always bitching about how I'm working her like a slave even though she's already in constant pain cause of her pregnancy, and then she'll come crying to my son about my treatment of her. Mind you, she doesn't have a high-risk pregnancy I know that cause me and my husband are the ones fully paying for her medical controls and I don't put her up to do tasks like cleaning the toilet or anything similar. However, she really crossed the line when after I got dressed up she asked me where I was going, and when I told her that I'm getting ready for church, her exact response was I didn't know there were churches that were allowing people looking like striptease dancers in. At that point I absolutely had it with her and I told her straight that I don't care who TF she is. I won't allow her to disrespect me while living in my house, and if she can't keep her attitude in check then she can get DF out of my home. She pretty much started crying at that point and immediately called my son, who later on also gave me attitude for treating her girlfriend like garbage when I don't know what she's going through. I roll. My husband also thinks that while she was definitely out of line with that, she was probably only acting out cause of pregnancy hormones and that I could have handled the situation better without straight up threatening to leave her homeless. AITA, Wibta if I don't change my son's name even though it may cause him to lose an inheritance? I 24 got pregnant while I was taking a gap year traveling. I met an older guy, nothing gross. I was 19. He was 23. We had fun. I was working in a bar to make money while I explored his city. When I got pregnant he lost interest really quickly. I understood, but I am pro-choice, and I chose not to terminate. I went home and had my son. I also made sure to get child support. He could afford it. He did fight it though. I had to prove paternity and everything. through that his parents found out. They are well off. They have met my son and they truly do seem to love him. They have provided gifts for his birthday and Christmas. They helped me with extra money so I could complete my university without going into debt. They have taken us on vacation with them so they could spend time with him. They aren't my biggest fans, but we are cordial to each other. 3 months ago my son's father passed away. He got drunk at his bachelor party, tripped on the sidewalk, and hit his head. And that was all she wrote. My son and I attended the funeral. We spent a week in that city so his grandparents could see him. They approached me with an offer. They had no other children or grandchildren. Their son was only 28, so he had lots of time to provide them legitimate kids. They did not say this, I'm just assuming. So they never thought about my son's name. They said that if I changed his surname to theirs legally they would make him their primary heir. I think this is dumb. He is their only grandchild and they would deny him an inheritance because of his last name. I said I would consider it, to be polite, and have left it at that. I actually have a pretty good life as it is. My family has been very supportive, and because of the whole court thing my son's father had to have life insurance with him as the beneficiary. Would it be nice for my kid to get a big sum of money? Yes. Do I want him to have the surname of a man who didn't want him, see him, or love him? No. I have been talking to my family about it and a few of them think I'm being an asshole for giving kind of money for my son. It is generational wealth and I'm making the decision based on emotion. I think they are assholes for thinking money is the only thing that matters. I think I will tell my son's grandparents that they can talk to him about it when he is 16. He will be old enough to understand the implications but young enough not to be tied professionally to his last name. AITA, it's very hydrating. This has been bugging me for a few days. Went to dinner with my wife recently to a relatively nice place, $30 $45 PP mains. Quick side note, we're both in our 30s and both work in hospitality and worked in kitchens for years, so we're generally on our best behavior at restaurants. Anyway, we sit down and are greeted by a young woman early 20s who drops some menus and asks if we want to start with still or sparkling water. I looked at the drink menu and saw the still was $9 and the sparkling was $12. Neither of us care that much about fancy water, so I said tap is fine. She gave a sort of grimace and a small noise. I asked, is there something wrong with the tap water? She replied, it's very hydrating, followed by an awkward silence. This was very strange to me, so I essentially repeated the question with slightly different verbiage and once again got it's very hydrating. I looked at her with an expression of please explain. More silence. Eventually I asked, what does that mean? She said, with no emotion, it will hydrate you. Now I'm feeling weird about the whole situation, and I flat out asked, with no expression or connotation, what's wrong with the tap water? You guessed it, it's very hydrating. I stood up and told my wife we're going. Before my wife even realized what was going on, the waitress said have a blessed day with the smuggest smile I've ever seen. Am I in La La Land here? The triplicated response seems really dumb for someone who is a professional at hospitality. Anyway, my wife suggested I took it too far by leaving. In my opinion, I didn't take it far enough and should have spoke to a manager, but life's short, and I didn't. AITA. Update 1. My wife was cool with leaving. We have a very equitable relationship. If one of us says to the other we're leaving, or any variation of that, we trust each other to know we made the right call and we'll figure out the rest later. Update 2. This is in America. I'm from near there and have had the tap water in the vicinity several times, without issue. AITA. For confronting my ex-husband's new wife over her treatment of my daughter. I 38F find myself in a complicated situation involving my ex-husband 40M and his new wife 35F. We divorced 5 years ago, and while our marriage ended, our priority has always been our 10-year-old daughter, Lily. Initially, everything was smooth. My ex-husband and I shared custody of Lily, and we both made an effort to maintain a friendly co-parenting relationship. However, things took a turn for the worse when my ex-husband introduced Lily to his new girlfriend, now his wife, Sarah. At first, I was happy for my ex-husband to have found love again. But it didn't take long for me to notice that Sarah was treating Lily differently from her own children. She has 2 kids from a previous marriage, and while she's affectionate and kind to them, she often excludes Lily. Lily would come home after her weekends with her dad and Sarah, tearfully recounting incidents where she felt left out, ignored, or even bullied by Sarah's children. Lily's self-esteem took a hit, and she started acting out at home and at school. I tried to address this issue with my ex-husband, explaining how it was affecting Lily's emotional well-being. He assured me that he would talk to Sarah about it. However, nothing seemed to change. Sarah's behavior persisted, and Lily continued to suffer. Feeling helpless, I decided to take matters into my own hands. One day, after dropping Lily off at her dad's place, I asked to speak with Sarah privately. I calmly expressed my concerns and told her how Lily was feeling left out and hurt. I suggested that we could all sit down and discuss how to make this transition easier for Lily. Sarah, however, became defensive and accused me of meddling in her family. She even insinuated that I was trying to drive a wedge between her and my ex-husband. Our conversation quickly escalated into an argument, with neither of us willing to back down. After that confrontation, my ex-husband and I had a heated discussion. He accused me of causing problems in his new marriage and demanded that I stay out of his business. I argued that our daughter's well-being should be our top priority, and I couldn't ignore her pain. In the end, my ex-husband and I haven't spoken since that argument, and Lily's situation hasn't improved. I can't help but wonder if I should have handled things differently. AITA for confronting my ex-husband's new wife over her treatment of my daughter, even if it strained our co-parenting relationship and led to further tensions in their marriage. AITA for blocking an Airbnb's view of my home. I've already posted this asking for legal advice but thought I'd ask for moral advice too. Last year we bought a historical property, with a fair-sized chunk of land. The previous owners had ran it as a small hotel but couldn't keep up with the pace at their age anymore. We turned the property back into a private residence. A main country road runs right by the longest edge of the unfenced garden, so we decided to plant hedges for privacy and to block off access in case my nephews visit and play football, etc. There is a small gardener's cottage right at the edge of this line, which was sold separately when we bought our home. We made sure to keep any bushes between us and them on our side of the property line. We were unaware that the elderly couple had sold the cottage to a relative of theirs and that he had planned to turn it into an Airbnb. We only know this now as after a summer of growth the owner had finally noticed the small hedge and realized what we'd done. He, and the couple, have sent official-looking letters stating we're impeding their reasonable enjoyment of the property, as they had planned to market the cottage as part of the property with views of a historical landmark, and once our hedge is full height that view will be greatly diminished if not almost entirely gone. So AITA for potentially damaging someone's income by planting these hedges? AITA for laughing at my housemate when he suggested I not shower on my period? I've 31F live in a share house. One of the housemates, Jack M30, has never lived with a woman outside of his mother but likes to say that he is aware of women's issues and calls himself a feminist. For instance, he doesn't agree with the saying no uterus no opinion because it's my job to be informed about any issues that could affect me if I become a father or husband is fine until it came to this issue. So, like most biological women, I have periods. I, however, cannot use tampons or cups due to a condition called vaginismus. It's pads all the time for me. I know, the shock. Shower during this time. Wow. I prepare a new pad onto a clean pair of undies, shower as normal, dry myself off in the shower, and then step straight into the undies. And obviously check the bathroom for mess. Jack's never complained nor has anyone else, so I figured my system was working. Q today and I can't shower for 48 hours due to a heart monitor test. I was jokingly complaining about how I was going to survive without my nightly shower and Jack looked up confused and said, "How is this any different to when you're on your period?" I asked him what he meant and he said, "Well, you can't shower on your period unless you use a tampon," and I laughed because I thought he was joking. He has shown before that he was at least semi-educated on women, which he got angry at. Jack said, "Wait, well, what do you do?" And I said slowly, "I shower." I wasn't getting it. "I'm afraid," Jack said, "without protecting my bathroom." He does not own the house and then went off. Apparently my period is unhygienic. It can cause infection if left on the shower floor, and he was under the impression I hadn't been showering for a week when I had my period or using tampons. I said that due to reasons I can't use tampons, and he told me then I'm banned from showering when I'm on my period, which I laughed again, at which I did apologize for and say I'm sorry for laughing, but the audacity of that statement. I told Jack he has no way of enforcing this, nor would I be sticking to this, and he said fine. Then every time you shower, you need to bleach the bathroom afterwards, to which I couldn't help but laugh again, apologizing but saying we're in a share house. That's not reasonable. When other people need to shower, use the toilet, and considering I'm sure at least somebody else pees in the shower, is ridiculous to only enforce on me. I brought that up and he said nobody does that. I've never heard of it in my life. So I just had to walk away. Jack's been complaining to other housemates about this and saying that we need to watch out for me, and we all just think he's absurd for banning me. But a couple think that I should just at least try and compromise, so I'm confused. AITA for looking out for my new co-worker by telling her that her food might be upsetting to others. I 32 meters, wide, am potentially in trouble at work, but I don't really think I deserve it. My co-worker, Anna 23ish F, Asian, is new at our office and she brings her own lunch on days we don't have a food truck. On Thursday yesterday, she brought in a homemade stir-fry and used our shared microwave in the break room to do it. I was in the room when she took it out of the microwave, and it smelled heavenly. I asked her about the recipe and she told me it was just a bunch of ingredients and spices thrown together as to not waste any veggies that might go bad soon. When I was telling her how good it smelled, I also mentioned that some other people at the office might think it would be too smelly or ethnic, as in, racist people tend to look down on ethnic things. I have read those kind of stories on here about microaggressions when it comes to people of color and the food they bring in, and I wanted to warn her that she might not want to bring it in anymore, so it doesn't happen to her. I emphasized that it smelled good to me personally, though. I guess a couple of the other co-workers in the room overheard our conversation, because after Anna left the room, some of them sort of quietly told me how it was inappropriate for me to have said that. I told them that it's true, that ethnic food gets ridiculed for smelling too strong and that I disagreed with that sentiment. But I also think she would face less harassment if she didn't bring in that food anymore. One of my other coworkers then said that I was the only one harassing her and making insinuations that her food is problematic, plus the fact that she hasn't even been bringing in her own food that often since she just started last week. So there couldn't have been an opportunity to have had this hypothetical harassment happen to her. I just wanted people, yes, even the assholes, at the office to make her feel welcomed. I left work that day not thinking anything of it, until the following morning where I hear from a different coworker that Anna talked to her HR department about the conversation and how she was hurt. I'm a bit frustrated as to why she didn't talk to me about it first, since it was just a misunderstanding and that I'm looking out for her. I did notice that today she was trying to dodge me, which is unusual and a bit heartbreaking. I just wanted to work things out. I wanted to be a friend to her and help her out since this is one of her first jobs out of undergrad, but this has been blown out of proportion. Now my coworkers think I'm racist, but I really try my best to be an ally. But then again, what do I know? So, am I the asshole for telling her that her food might be a bit too much for other potentially racist people in the office to handle? AITA for not giving up my Christmas annual leave so my co-worker can spend some time with her kids? I 25F am not sure if it's relevant, but I've chosen a child-free life. About 3 months ago I started a new job and have just passed my probation period, and now my bosses are sorting out my annual leave with me. This boss said there's one gap left for annual leave on Christmas and they've been saving it for me. According to him, any new employees once they've passed the probation period will get the first Christmas off. Here's the thing, I don't care if I work Christmas or not, and I'll be on my own this Christmas as I don't celebrate it. 2 days later, this was 3 days ago, I had a colleague come up to me and she was talking about annual leave and asked if I would consider switching, and my response was no. She then started going on about how she has kids and what I would be doing this Christmas, and I just said no. She seemed moody and walked away. Later that night I got home and my nephew video called me from his mom's phone. When she got the phone we caught up. Here's the thing though, before my sister gave birth to her son this happened and was in complete agreement with me in a previous workplace. I brought this up with my sister. My sister said I'm being a bit selfish as I'm child-free and she has kids. She's working and I'm not, which means she won't be able to see her kids for long on Christmas Day. She also brought up the fact I'm not bothering to come up and see family this Christmas and will be spending 3 of the days phone-free, so I won't be communicating with anyone. AITA for not giving up my annual leave to a mum with kids when I'm going to be off. And she's going to be working even though I don't care if I work or don't work? AITA for not letting my husband sleep in on the weekend. First time posting, and English is not my first language. I 27F and my husband 24M have an agreement that every Saturday he sleeps in, and I take fully care of the baby 10-month-old during the morning, and on Sundays he takes the baby, and I sleep in. So this Saturday the baby woke up around 7 a.m. I wake up at the same time, change her and go make the bottle. Shortly after I'm feeding her, my husband shows up in the living room saying he can't sleep anymore. I understood. I mean, it has happened to me before and it's completely natural. At night my husband turns to me and said that since he woke up early that day that he would be sleeping in the next day, Sunday. I said no, since that is not our agreement and that it's not my fault he didn't sleep in. He said that it's not fair because he works and I don't. To give a little more context, I'm a SOM and he works full-time during the week. The thing is, I do most of the household chores, which I don't mind BTW, and his only responsibility is taking out the trash and unload the dishwasher. I do everything else, take care of the baby. He usually just helps me with baths and watches plays with her while I make dinner. We're fine with how things are, we're a happy couple and family, but I don't think it's okay for him to throw around that he works. And I don't want it was a joint decision that I would stay home with the baby until she turns 1. He ended up waking early and letting me sleep in today, but when I woke up he let me know that he was really tired and that I wasn't nice to him and should have let him sleep in instead. AITA for not letting my husband sleep in. Extra info: we usually wake up at the same time during the week since I pack his bag for work. So I don't sleep more than him during the week, and when my baby naps I do chores that I can do when she's awake. Update: my husband has apologized for the way he spoke and that he could have phrased it better. All is good, and thank you all for the comments. A lot of you are shocked I pack his lunch bag for work. I get it. I have been doing it since we got married because I packed both our bags at the same time. I do it out of habit and honestly as a nice gesture for him. He appreciates it, and I know he does. AITA for not looking after my infant niece while my sister had to run errands. I feel really bad and need an unbiased opinion. I 28F am currently living with my sister 32F and my niece who is 5 months old. My sister asked me to move in with her as she was separating from her partner and needed someone to help with the bills. I cover the majority of rent payments for the house and bills since my sister is not fully back to work yet. On the days she is working, it is usually our mother who looks after my niece. Now I mainly work from home, and due to how loud both my niece and my sister are in the job specifics, I wear good noise cancelling headphones. I also have a room with my own bathroom. I have told my sister multiple times if she needs anything and I haven't responded to a knock, she needs to come into my room and tap me to get my attention, otherwise I would simply won't hear her and wouldn't know if she needs anything. However, my sister keeps forgetting it. Last Friday was very hectic at my work, so I ended up working 12 hours and had some snacks to get me going. I had no knowledge of my sister asking anything of me since I sit opposite the door. I also haven't seen her coming into my room since she didn't tap me on my shoulder as we agreed. Apparently she had to run a few errands at work and had no one to leave my niece with, and decided to leave her with me since she would be a few hours. Because I had no idea of her plans and she hasn't followed what I have asked her to do, my niece was left unattended for over 3 hours and was crying her eyes out for God knows how long. I only found out about it when my sister returned home. I was still working and had my headphones on as she ripped the headphones off my head and started shouting at me and calling me an asshole for not attending to my niece. Even I have explained to her I had no idea she was gone or my niece was crying to add, I don't look at my phone during work hours, and after I have checked there was no messages or missed calls from my sister. I feel really bad about the entire situation, so wanted to check if I am an asshole as my sister still wouldn't talk to me and makes it sound like I did it on purpose. AITA for not wanting my autistic cousin at my child-free wedding. Throwaway because I have family that use Reddit as well. Next spring, I am getting married to the love of my life. We have decided that we don't want children at our wedding. Not many of our friends and family have young children, and the ones that do are fine with getting a sitter for the weekend since we gave them a lot of notice. The only ones to put up a fight are my aunt and uncle who have a daughter with autism. She is 20, but will be 21 by the time my wedding day comes around. She is what they call high functioning, which means she can talk and dress herself, and she has some friends. She graduated from high school a couple years ago and is currently living with her parents, my aunt and uncle, while working at a grocery store. Despite her being technically an adult, I just don't see her as such. Every time I talk to her at a family gathering, it's like talking to a child. She is obsessed with toy ponies and Barbie dolls, and brings them up at every opportunity. She draws in her notebook constantly and never makes eye contact when talking to me. She does not have loud meltdowns like other special needs kids I've met before, but I really don't want to risk her ruining my special day. I told my aunt and uncle that I didn't want her there and they became very upset. They said she already saw the invite and knew it was child-free, but because she is an adult, she thought she was still included. My aunt tried to guilt me by saying she'd already picked out a dress and a gift, but I didn't want to hear it. My fiancé says I'm being an asshole and we should let her attend because she has attended other weddings before with no issue. Everyone is making me feel horrible for not treating her like an adult when she doesn't act like one. AITA for refusing to change the color of my sister's bridesmaid dress, even though she hates it. I can't believe I'm posting about this, but I really need some insight. At 23 I'm getting married to my fiancé 25 meters in November. We're really excited and the day is fast approaching. I have 5 women being my bridesmaids. One of them is my sister, Millie 21F. Millie has always been more of a tomboy growing up but doesn't have an issue with wearing dresses for formal events. I want my bridesmaids to wear matching dresses, which everyone knew when they accepted. I bought and paid for the dresses. They're a relatively simple style and in a pastel pink color. Millie is now angry and saying she won't wear the dress because it's pink and too girly. She's even threatening to not attend the wedding anymore unless I return her dress and pick out another color. I'm distraught that she'd make such a problem out of a dress color when she knew I wanted the bridesmaids to match. I think Millie is being dramatic and could deal with wearing the dress for one day, but TBH, my feelings are really hurt that she'd threaten to drop out of the wedding over this. My fiancé thinks I should kick her out of the wedding party before she causes bigger problems closer to or on the day. My parents got themselves involved in this and told me to just exchange the dress for the same one in a different color and that we're both acting like children. Wibta if I told Millie to suck it up and wear the dress if she wants to be a bridesmaid, and not budge on the issue? AITA for telling my sister I wouldn't be able to attend her wedding before she even sent an invite? My sister 29F and I 27F were super close until 3 years ago. This was around the time she moved in with her fiancé Martha 30F. They spent the entirety of lockdown at Martha's family estate and something about my sister changed in that time. She became less considerate of what people can and can't afford and generally became much more obsessed with making everything big and expensive. Her wedding is no exception. She is getting married at some really fancy resort because her future Phil knows the owner. They are setting a specific dress code, An expensive one. Because of the rules of said resort, anyone who can afford to stay there would need to make a 30-40 minute drive to get cheaper accommodation. There are even more details that I can't even wrap my brain around yet. The dress code was where I really started to understand it might not be feasible for my family. There's my husband, 2 kids and I. We don't wear designer stuff or couture, so we have nothing to pull from, and looking at prices, it's a lot. Plus money for gas to drive, plus money for accommodation. I brought this up to my sister the first time she painted the picture of the wedding. She told me we could drive down with her and her fiancé, and I pointed out we would need to be able to drive to a cheaper hotel or something. She said we could get a 2 discount on staying there since I'm her family. She also expressed that there are sales on a couple of sites where we could get clothes. It would still be expensive, but she feels like a few $100s off overall will make a difference. I asked her if we could reasonably dress nice within our budget and still get in, and she said she wasn't entirely sure and we were better off playing it safe. My husband and I sat and did the finances, and we realized it was just a lot for us. We're not wealthy, we have 2 kids to think about and a household to keep afloat. We talked about just me going, but my sister really wants our kids there. My parents mentioned that they were looking at a loan to afford everything themselves, and that's just 2 of them. Ultimately, I decided it wasn't worth all the stress and financial strain it would cause us, and I told my sister we would not be able to attend. I told her I love her and would like to celebrate her marriage, but the wedding is not something we could afford. She brought up the fact she was able to help me with some discounts. I told her it was not enough realistically. My sister said I should try harder to be there as her sister, and I could ask for more help if I need it. AITA for temporarily lying to family friends to trap a flying monkey enabler. I 36F have been antsy with my narcissistic, emotionally abusive parents for a year now. I changed my number ages ago, but someone had given them my new number as they recently attempted to make contact. I'm only in touch with 4 mutuals: my sister, my aunt, childhood friend and cousin who is not the child of the aunt in question. Before I changed my number again, I wanted to trap the rat, tell each one of them a lie and see which one gets back to my parents before changing my number, so I don't accidentally give it to the rat. Remember, these are all lies. I told my sister and having an affair, warned husband of this ahead of time, he's in on it. Told my aunt I think I might be a lesbian, parents are very homophobic. Told childhood friend I think I'm pregnant aunt, and told my cousin I'm moving back to my hometown near where parents live for a job. Didn't take long. 3 days later, get a text from mom about how excited she is I'm moving back and it's the perfect time to bury the hatchet. I had changed my phone number and cut off contact with cousin and gave the other 3 my new number, and told them the situation, that these were all lies and I had to catch the rat to see who was giving info to my parents. Aunt and childhood friend understood, but sister, while she wasn't the rat and never told parents, thinks I went too far and is upset with me for lying to her and is insulted. I think she'd betray my confidence. I told her I had to do this to protect myself from people who are leaking information. AITA